You might remember this clip which went viral during the lockdown. Now, this clip shows an empty London, a deserted one where no one is outside. This clip very much resembled the situation that was happening during the lockdown. Now, this clip is not from a movie about lockdown. This clip is from a movie called 28 Days Later. This film follows the story that happens after the outbreak of a race virus. Everyone turns into a zombie. But this was not your typical zombie movie. This was less interested in action and bashing of the zombies, but more interested about ideas. What happens if human beings also don't feel? What happens where there's not much of a difference between humans and zombies? And what length will you go to save someone? Apart from that, it also addresses the issue of society and violence. Now, the new movie 28 years later follows the story of the same epidemic outbreak. The race virus is still ongoing, and because of this, UK is in indefinite lockdown. Even though UK is in indefinite lockdown, there's an island which is safe from all of these zombies. This island is called Lindisfarne. And you wanna guess what the other name of this island is? The other name of this island is called Holy Island. In other words, it's God protecting the citizen themselves. And this island remains safe because there's only one strip of land which connects it to the mainland, and the strip of land remains flooded mostly. So now that was the information about the film. Now let's talk about what I like and what I didn't like about the movie. The story follows a young spy played by Alfie Williams, his mother Ilsa played by Jodie Comer, and Jamie played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Jamie is his father. Alongside them, the film also stars Ralph Fiennes as Dr. Ian Kelson. The story is written again by Alex Garland, who is returning back to this film, and he beautifully weaves the theme of violence, family, society into this movie. Picture this: even though God's Island is far from the threat of the zombies, they still take their children to the mainland to teach them how to hunt. In schools, they teach them how to shoot an arrow to the head of a zombie. In simple words, even if they are far away from the threat of zombies, they cannot run away from violence. In the movie, Jamie takes a young spy to the mainland, and when this happens, I thought of two stories. One is called The Most Dangerous Game, and the other is a novel called The Lord of Flies. Now, in both of these stories, violence plays a main role. Like in the stories, killing becomes habitual for these characters, and young Spike is taken to the mainland for him to be habitual to the killing. And this raises a question in the film: if humans also don't feel empathy, if they don't feel anything while killing, then what separates them from the mindless zombies? Now, these metaphors become even more prominent when the zombies also have a leader. He's called the Alpha. Like in the humans, we also have leaders and we also follow the leaders. And similarly, these zombies also follow their leader. And when the zombies are killed with an arrow to the head, these killing shots are shown in a freeze frame, as if these zombies and killing of these zombies are some kind of trophy and these characters are in some kind of a game. Now it's revealed that even within the zombies, there are hierarchies. Of course, there's the alpha and his followers, but there are also slow ones, the one who walk and eat like a pig. And even when they are killed with an arrow in their neck, just like how a spear is used to kill a pig. Now, apart from that, the film is also a story about a child who is coming of his age. Whenever we think of coming of age, we think of films like Little Miss Sunshine, we think of The 400 Blows, we think of The Ladybird. But most of these stories are about teenage children fighting with their parents. And through these stories, they find themselves in this end. There's a bit of that in 28 years later, but like in the French film Raw, it shows the coming of age through violence. Here, violence is not just for fun, it's not just for teaching in the school, it is very much essential if you want to survive in the mainland. The film is set in an island, and in the mainland also there are green forests, and we see the deers running, we see crows, and we see different types of animals, and the color here is very soft. Now compare this to the previous two films, which had much more harsher and much more cool tone, but These films were also shot by Anthony Don Mantle, and here we see Bone and Skull Tower, these large towers made of bones of people and skull of people, and they are made in a beautiful meadow. A lush green forest surrounds them, and all of this scenario also makes this horror much more unsettling. But 28 years later is not just another zombie film. It's not Shaun of the Dead. It's also a story about a child trying to save his mother. It's also a story about Dr. Nelson, who very much reminded me of Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. Despite very good movies, there are parts which remain uneven. Now, one of the main problem is this. It tries to be an action film, a survival thriller, a horror story, a story about mother and a son, all of these things. And in between all of this, it loses some of the emotion, some of the drama, some of the thrills. And because of this, the scene can be boring in some part of the movies. But throughout the running time, 28 years later remains an earnest film with good performances throughout the film. Now, I've heard that they're making a sequel and another film, third film as well, and this is a part of a trilogy. And I'm really waiting for the next one and the third one. I like to give it 7 out of 10 stars.